I'm going to not participate, but let me do a quick housekeeping.
You be sure, yeah.
That would have been a quick, make sure you have your name tag. I think you all did. Oh, you're passing that around. And I didn't know who was going to show, so please put your name. You guys know what to do. And let's see. I think you all got it. Is there anything I'm missing? If anybody else shows up, just let Reverend Sharon know to admit them.
We got a few out there.
Yeah.
I see Eileen and Diane. Oh, is that the Shaws?
No.
Who's on the bottom?
Wait.
Oh,
Janet,
Widener, Ken. Hi, Ken.
Can you hear us? Oh, you're on mute. Okay, that's great.
All right. Did you all get something to drink and eat? Okay, good. Well, here we go again. You're very far away from me. We can do it. Yes.
No, you're very far away from us.
Yes, I'm so sorry. Oh, I didn't sign it. Janet, Ken. Diane, where the heck are you?
Portland.
Portland, okay.
Yeah.
Chandler. Okay.
What's that?
Jan, you got your summer haircut finally? Okay, are you ready to pray in?
Yes.
Oh, so we just take a moment, let go of everything that's on your plan for the rest of the day. So you can be fully here, because I know when we gather like this to study together spiritually and explore spiritual ideas, that there is a blessing. And so God, we gather together this morning to go deeper into our spiritual understanding, to go broader into our experience of you and the joy of life, and to be fully present to the presence of good and ideas that bless us. And so we go into this time together with a sense of enthusiasm, excitement, and expectancy. Thank you, God. Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Let's start with the folks online. And if you would share your name, we've got 6 people in here. Share your name and something that's on your bucket list. Something that's on your bucket list that you want to do while you're still here. So let's start with Eileen.
Eileen Barber, and on my bucket list is to ascend.
Ascend? You mean so we can all see you?
Well, just so that I don't have to die the body.
Whatever you say. Ascend, okay. As the light body, right? As a light body? Yeah, okay, good. Diane?
Hello, I'm Diane. And I'm trying to get the energy. I have the energy, Sharon, thank you. To revisit some places. Next on my list is Kansas City, where I went to grad school. And I'm pushing through to do it because aging's catching up with me, but I've got a bucket list of a few of these places.
Oh, good, great. Jan?
We're going to try to see our family after COVID. Our family's out of state. It's actually a reunion that we've never had.
A family reunion?
All the family, all the relatives, all the kids, and we've never had one. So this is an opportunity around December to do this.
How wonderful. And when is it?
Yeah.
When is it?
Well, on our my sisters and my birthdays are the 24th and 26th
Of September?
in December, and she's planning.
December?
She's actually planning to come to Arizona, which she does not like. She lives in the Midwest. Oh,
Okay, great, thank you, thank you. And let's start here and come around. Your name and something on your bucket list.
Oh, Darlene, right now, continued healing.
Continued healing, great.
Doug, want to skydive.
Skydive? Cindy's going.
The only trouble is, I gotta be 200 pounds or less. I can go away to work.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's a weight limit.
Oh, I didn't-
Get the brown vest.
And Cindy's probably.
And she's really more. I'm on the toes. I'm not going up there.
I'm Cindy and I would like to write a children's book. An adolescent book.
Oh, great. Do you have a title?
Well, not exactly, but pioneer teacher. About a young girl that I did my doctoral dissertation on, so
Oh, wow.
lived in the 1850s.
Oh,
So I have her diaries.
oh,
Neat. Wow, when she was a young girl in school, and then when she became a teacher of the school at 16.
oh, what a lovely story.
It'll be a good story.
Yeah, great.
That's
Great.
wonderful.
Pat?
Yes, I'm Pat. I just want to continue living as peacefully and joyfully as I can and not letting politics into my life. I'll scrub that out. And I'm doing pretty good, and that's my big bucket.
That's great.
That's it. That's not.
Means you can't turn your TV on.
I don't do too much. I get filmed every so often, but. It's still, you still choose how you handle it all.
Right, thank you. Sure. But
I guess that I'm very fortunate that at my age I have done so many different things, traveled to Russia and unusual places. And that I finally, a year ago, started my blog, which I've been carrying those stories around for my whole life. And so I'm happy there. I guess I would like to, well, I would like to attend a family reunion. And there's one coming up on the 23rd of September. And I already have my tickets. And so I have a little quick stint and I want to go into that. But at any rate, I just want to be stable enough to be able to make the trip and see a family that I haven't seen for over 3 years because of COVID.
right,
And some of them, the young folks I haven't seen for many years because they were off in high school and college. I probably wouldn't even recognize half of the people that are there. Because there's going to be a wedding and then there's going to be a big barbecue, and barbecue is going to be fun because we'll be able to just be in, moving around.
how fun. So I hope you guys heard Betty Jo, Jan and Ken especially. She is going to a family reunion on the 23rd of September. Yeah, Betty Jo.
Yes, Betty Jo Johnson, and I just want to experience more fun and joy in my life.
You've come to the right place. My name is Sharon and on my bucket list is to, not really a bucket list, my goal for this year is to publish my book on spiritual cliff notes. On the bucket list, however, is that I would love to go on another biking trip in either France, northern Spain, or Italy, the east coast of Italy.
Did you say hiking or biking?
Biking,
Oh, biking. Oh, okay. Well, that's right. That's what you
bike last time. Yeah, I mean, I hike too, also on my bucket list, and I'm hoping to do it in 2023. Is walk the Camino in Spain,
Oh, yes.
the pilgrimage. Well, thank you all for sharing that. It's very energizing to hear it. So what I would like you to do now is, you two know each other very well. So you decide if it's a good thing. But what I would like you to do is share with the partner, how you got to Unity, who brought you and why, or how you found it, what, it's really about your spiritual search. You're looking for something. And so you might even consider, what was I looking for that brought me to Unity in the first place? You ready? Is Doug coming back to us?
I don't know, I don't even know the answer, it could have been spam, you know. I'm just teasing, oh, he's talking to somebody, he's coming back,
Okay, he's on the phone, you're saying.
yeah.
Okay, all right. So Diane, Eileen, Diane, Jen, and Ken, just think about it, be ready. And these folks, you two, and Pat and Cindy, and Darlene, why don't you go with those three until Doug comes back?
I'm sorry, why did you point over here? Who did you point?
You two are gonna talk to one another, right?
Oh, okay.
Unless you don't want to, unless you wanna go somewhere.
No, that's good. We've known each other for 15 years.
Yeah, so do a little recollection with one another.
All right.
You know, what were you looking for that got you here? It's kind of like your spiritual path. Okay, and Jan, you had a question or comment? Okay,
How we got here,
pardon?
how we got here.
Yeah, I think for Unity of surprise. But so maybe what got you to Unity in the first place? Because you weren't raised in Unity, were you?
No,
Yeah. So,
Feeling like God
so
was love.
did Ken decide, did you decide to drag Ken?
and decided. And we got here because of Helen Swimmings and her husband Bill.
Love here.
She's a member of your church, Helen Swimmings. And she introduced us to the church.
Hang on a minute, because the folks here are talking, so I can't hear you. When you guys go ahead, I'm talking.
Yeah, sorry.
Give them a minute to talk about it, and then when we all are ready, I'll call on, I want you to share, okay? Okay, 2 more minutes. Get it done.
I've been in Unity, just quickly, I started when I was a little kid with my grandmother, we boarded years and I was, but, and I have never attended.
Don't go away, you guys. Don't go away. Stay with me.
I was involved in. I guess I've had my spiritual journey all my life. I have a lot of questions even then. Because my thinking about, say, some God, Jesus.
Change partners. Change partners.
I know there's some.
Change partners.
Okay, and we. Okay. For my kid, yeah. It's very new to me. I moved to the. Didn't you come to your mother? That's great. She was great. Better Christian women. Yeah. An expectation to that like to worship. And there was a fiction. I love something. It's nice for me to be. And I spent my good something about it. And all of my were manifesting. I didn't know what was going on. I wanted to know how it is.
Okay, changing partners back there. You two just can go back. Oh, you already did you?
So already.
Cindy,
Yeah,
your turn.
She started.
She started?
We kind of, yeah, we kind of all.
Well, that was a short one.
You rushed now.
I know. You know why? Because we have 4 people online, was down there like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're going to.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna start sharing now. Is everyone ready, more or less? Sorry, I know it's rushed, but these folks online are kind of sensitive to. Okay, let me start.
Yeah.
Let's start with our online folks.
Okay.
Okay. Eileen, would you share what it was? What were you looking for maybe, or?
I wasn't consciously looking for anything, but almost everybody already knows that I went to California and met you there when you were in Carlsbad. And so I came back and went to Unity of Mesa, but I wasn't too excited about it over there. And then when I found out you were moving here, it's like, oh, okay, I'm going wherever she is. So here I am.
Yeah, you jumped in with both feet. And interesting, you weren't really looking for something. I know Jody brought you to the church in Carlsbad, right?
Yep.
Staying up on the stage the first Sunday. Her first, isn't that right? Am I right? You went up
Yeah,
there-
I sang with your choir group in California.
Courageous. Thanks, Eileen. Diane, would you share with us, please?
Oh, sure. Well, I first got involved with Unity in Seattle when I lived in Seattle. And they had a really fun conference called the Women of Wisdom Conference there. And they had really great speakers, including Marion Woodman and people like that. So that's how I wound up over there going to the conference. And then I just found out that it was a fun church.
Great.
Fun after Catholicism. So, and you know, I'd been years prior to a wedding when I was in Kansas City. One of my roommates got married in the Rose Garden at Unity, and she was a very fun-loving person. So I knew a little bit about Unity, that it was a positive religion. And so that's kind of, you know, I went for the fun and the positivity.
Great, great. It's true too, isn't it fun?
It
Yeah.
is important.
Because, you know, Unity has always described itself as idealistic, positive, practical spirituality. And it is. Jan?
Ken and I came here and we were searching for a church. And we came across Helen Slimon. She's a member of the Unity of Surprise Church with her husband, Bill. And Helen and Bill brought us into the church with Billy Martini as our minister. So we became members of the Unity Church at the Surprise, Arizona, and found a family. And then we followed her and found you, and we've enjoyed the Unity of Sun City very much.
Great, thank you. You want to add anything, Ken?
No, that's about it.
Okay. Where did you guys move from?
We moved from the Midwest.
From the University of Illinois, Champaign, Illinois.
Was it Ohio?
Illinois.
Illinois.
Illinois, not Chicago, right?
You know.
Yeah, well, I was born in Chicago and Jan is born in Southern Illinois.
Okay.
So together we raised our kids in the middle of Illinois at the university,
Okay.
Illinois.
Were you in Unity in Illinois?
No, we were in a Catholic church, we were in a Christian church. And when we came here, we started again, we went to the Catholic church and we went to the Methodist church, the Assembly of God, and we're looking, and it took a while. And then by then, Billy Martini's church had moved to Sun City West. So that was where we are now. And so it was very convenient and we just hit on the family right away and have been there for over 10 years.
Yeah, great, great. Thank you. Let's start right here, Betty Jo.
Yes. Well, I had a very good background childhood. My father was Mormon, my mother was Christian Scientist / Methodist. So I had a little understanding of both. But when I got married, my husband was a Christian Scientist, so I went with him and I got a very good basic background of that. But I also wanted something that was more social and community. And I found we had often had wisdom for the kids when they were young. And my mother also had that for us. So I checked into Unity and I found it a very practical pathway to spirituality. And so I've been in it most of my life now.
Wow, wow.
So with new thought.
Yes. So do all of you know the relationship? Are you aware of the relationship between Christian Science and Unity? So the founders of Unity and the founder of Christian Science, what was her name?
Mary Baker Eddy.
Mary Baker Eddy, were contemporaries and knew one another. And they were Myrtle and Charles Fillmore and Mary Baker Eddy lived at a time when there was this renaissance in thinking, which I'll talk about as we move along here. But it was scientific, you know, and practical, this idea that your thinking creates your reality. And they're both Christian Science and Unity are alike in that way. Our thinking creates our reality, and so prayer thoughts are the powers, and declaring, right? Declare it so. Betty, thank you, Betty Jo.
We found out that we were both raised on wisdom.
Oh, interesting.
And then Daily Word, my mother always had Daily Word, and she got it for me, and I get it now for all my kids and grandkids and so forth. So that was always running through my veins. My father was a German Lutheran, so we went to the Lutheran church when going to church. And I was active there, became Sunday school teacher, superintendent of Sunday school, all that kind of stuff. But I always had questions, and I said, but Joe, I never could understand, even as a young child, why God would make so many billions of people and then only take a couple to go to heaven and burn everybody else. That just didn't sound like the plan of God that I thought. And there were other things too. So I always was questioning in my mind, but let me see. So then I married a Catholic and eventually went to mass with him because I wanted to worship together. But I didn't agree with everything they were saying either. And so I started coming to Unity after we moved out here and when he had Alzheimer's and he was no longer going to church. And so I was active here. And then I was trying to get answers to some of my questions. So that's when I went over to New Thought, because there were things that were happening in my life that were great, but I wondered how it's happening. And Betty Jo and I mentioned it to her on Sunday. She had an outfit that matched so perfectly. And I said, well, that's a nice outfit. She well, I've had these for a while and I matched it up with something else. And I said, what a perfect match. I said, you know, you had in your mind what you wanted and you manifested those pants to show up to go with the church. And I found that with certain things that I wanted too, a chair that matched my other furniture, which was unusual. So how are these happening? Things that I'm thinking are showing up. So I went to New Thought, and that was very interesting, and I learned a lot. But I always had Unity in my back of my mind. I felt Unity was a softer approach. There was more love instead of science, and I like the science, but the love is more important, I think. So that's why.
Great.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Pat.
A different story. I'm 73. My first 12 years of my life, my dad was military in the Army. My mother always found the First United Methodist Church. My brother and I went to church Sunday school with her 12, about age 12, which time we both just decided we don't get it. We don't understand these wreaths and symbols and rolling rocks and I still don't. And sorry, and I mean no respect, I'm gonna be a little bit on the different side here, so. So up until this point, I have, I've done a little bit of Buddhist studies, the Land of Medicine Buddha in Aptos, Muktanandas and chanting and stuff up in Oakland, Washington. Love chanting with 100 people in a room voice. I sang in a symphonic chorus for years. But have never, and I in social work and in counseling in Santa Cruz. So that was my group of people. That was my spirituality, the work I did, the connections. Moved here 2 years ago, left the relationship, moved here in February of 20, Sun City West. Trying to find people, I to my people, same thing. I don't know who they are. And I'm waiting to get into training, into some volunteer work, which they were putting off because of COVID. And so anyway, that's kind of floating around, not feeling, because, I was in Santa Cruz 50 years, so I'm here by myself pretty much. I have a good friend in Sun Lakes, but I got invited to a potluck with Joe and Mac and just somebody that said, there's these great gals coming to a potluck. I did that. They said, come out and check out the church. I don't understand. I know the church. I don't understand these terms of God and Jesus and Buddha. And what I do understand and what I do try to live is connection, love, openness. And I know it when it's there and I know it when it's not in me and everywhere else. So I came to this service. I've been here, but 3 or 4 Sundays. I immediately knew there's some people here for me. There is some connection here for me. I'll have to figure out the words, the discussion, how I fit any of this stuff into. I don't have any trouble fitting great in my heart. So that's kind of where I am. And I'm very happy that I'm here.
I love what you said about, and you two mentioned it too, and folks here, is that, we have an internal yearning to connect.
Yes.
And we know when the connection is made or can be made, and when maybe not. But that yearning comes from the spiritual principle that we're all one.
Yes.
We're all one in the one God. One God, many names for that one God. But we're all one in that way. And so, yeah, the connectivity, I think that's one of the, I'm wanting to say one of the most important things about a church is that if you find the energy where, your energy fits, it's incredibly rewarding and prospering to all parts of your being. Your mind gets lit up, your heart feels full, and when that happens, you get healed. Whatever healing you might want, or not even be aware of. So, thank you. Yes, my counselor friend.
Well, when I was growing up, I was in a Jewish and Catholic, area, and they would talk about religion and stuff like that. And it just didn't fit with what I imagined. Okay. And so all through my life, I've attended everything from Dutch Reformed to Methodist to Lutheran to Catholic, all the different churches, and nothing really fit. When I found Unity, which was over 40 years ago, it fit. It fit with what my thinking was. And I did not. So I've attended Unity across the country, and with my husband. But this church is the first one that I actually started going to classes and stuff like that. I attended church on Sunday and stuff like that. But it's such a wonderful community and such loving people that it's wonderful for me. And it was wonderful for Forrest. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry. So
Spontaneous, remember?
yeah.
There's a Kleenex right here. Thank you. Cindy?
Well, I've been in New Thought for over 50 years, so I was telling my group, I basically was always kind of centered around law, which is a part of unity and part of religious science and certainly part of Christian science. But I was looking for a church that was showing me that God is also love. And I need that, like everybody else, so I walked through the doors. And I said to you, I met you, and I said, I'm looking for love, a God of love. She goes, you're in the right place. So that's what we need into unity.
Thank you. Thanks, Cindy. And they come all the way from Pebble Creek. So you can tell we were talking about while you were out of the room, right? So, share a little bit about, Cindy kind of covered it, I suppose, but, your background and
Came with her.
I know.
No, I grew up Lutheran. And though when I was in school on Wednesdays at 2:30, people who were Catholic got excused from class. for catechism. And I said, well, maybe I should be Catholic, so I didn't go to school. But my experience with Lutheran was short-lived because when I was in my confirmation class, the minister asked, how can God be in two places at one time? And being that I was blonde, all kids were like, so I raised my hand and said, well, maybe God has a split personality. He asked me to go stand in the corner and talk to me after class and said, I guess you're not ready for confirmation. But so we were kind of looking for a place to go, but then I met Cindy and she was going to, her mother was going to disciple the Christ Church. But then we got married a year and a half later at a congregational church. So we kind of been all over the place. But then in 1973, when we lost our daughter, we really had trouble to sign Murray. And I grew up next door to a neighbor who was always positive. Let's go talk to Lynn Vendetta. And said, well, whatever you got, we want, because what we're doing isn't right. And she was into this thought. And so she introduced us into this. And then when we moved to Naperville, one of the things we helped was start the Unity Church there with Kathy Benson, who was in the class behind you. Kitty Benson. And I was on the Naperville City Council. And they wanted to open their church because we were doing meeting in school, but then they found a place in an industrial park that they wanted to open up the church in there. And they had to go in front of the city council. And of course, they had approved to allow a church in an industrial area. And so I said to everyone, you got to vote for it because you can't vote against God. So she finally get it passed. And they do have their church, and that's why I feel, well, why is there? Because it's great, because on Sunday, none of the businesses are open, and the parking lot is available for us, so it worked out. And then, then when we moved down here, she moved down in 2012, came here, because when she retired, no more winters. And I retired in 2016, and we were looking for a place to settle and find, and she's the one who actually found this church. And it's been great.
Here you are. What a great story. And Kitty is still there.
And Kitty's still there.
Yeah. Very cool, very cool. That's been a very long time that she's been there.
Mhm.
She went there, she pioneered the church there
Oh, yeah.
when she got up.
Stayed in her house and then started in school. And so we had to set everything up and tear it down.
Great story, yeah. Well, thank you all for sharing that. I wanted to do that because you just might hear something, that reflection on experience is when we learn. We don't learn from experience, we learn from reflecting on it. I believe so. Good to reflect on these things. I have a quote that I wanted to share. And I didn't put who said it, but I'm pretty sure it was Anne Frank. If you suddenly and unexpectedly feel joy, don't hesitate. Give into it. There are plenty of lives and whole towns destroyed or about to be. We are not wise and not very often kind, and much can never be redeemed. Still, life has some possibility left. Perhaps this is its way of fighting back, that sometimes something happens better than all the riches or power in the world. It could be anything, but very likely you notice it in the instant when love begins. Anyway, that's often the case. Anyway, whatever it is, don't be afraid of its plenty. Joy is not made to be a crumb. And so it is. So let's get, so what I want to do, this is unity history and then the law. It's a good reflection for you guys who know unity so well. You too, darling, you've been around, you guys have been around. And new for Pat, so don't hesitate to ask questions. So unity, our roots. Unity is based on ancient wisdom for modern times, and it's universal wisdom. So I have a couple quotes here from Plato, who way back when was thinking that thoughts create reality. So our roots are in ancient wisdom because the Fillmore studied Buddhism. They studied the Eastern religions, were familiar with most all of them. You know, they studied Buddhism, Hinduism. And so that's why meditation is central to our services. They were on a very deep spiritual search. So we're based, the roots are transcendental. That transcendental period in the late 1800s. Again, you know, the transcendentalists discovered ancient wisdom, which is that thought is creative. And then Eastern spirituality, as I said, you know, the idea of chanting and meditation, very important. And science. Charles Fillmore was, well, Myrtle was too. I mean, they studied science and I think did a perfect integration of science and spirituality. And today, I'll get to today in a while, but you know, today science is validating what theologians have been saying forever. And that is that our thoughts affect our physicality as well as what we attract into our lives. Any comments or questions? Anyone want to add anything at this point? How do you all feel about chanting? Love it.
It's one of the most connected things I've ever done.
Yeah. Beautiful. I tried it once on a Sunday and I think some people were confounded. So I didn't do it again. But I haven't done it recently, but on Wednesday night, you know, when I do the meditation on Wednesday night, I may get back to that because of what you said. And I was raised Catholic with the chant, you know, the monks chanting at our monks and priests chanting at our service.
Maybe that's why some people resisted that, because they didn't want anything.
Could be,
Yeah.
could be. So ancient wisdom. Doug, would you agree with what Socrates said?
The unexamined life is not worth living.
You believe that?
Yes. You're missing out.
It's like, I'm not learning if I'm not looking at the mistakes I've made and, or the goods that I've done and notice how I feel about it, right? Reflect on it. Okay, Pat, would you read the second Socrates?
He who is not contented with what he has would not be contented with what he would like to have.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
And Socrates said it hundreds of years ago. And this is one of our 5 basic teachings is the tools of transformation, which include denial and affirmation, right, which I'll get to. But imagine Plato getting that as well. So Darlene, would you read Plato's comment there?
The untrained mind keeps up a running commentary, labeling everything, judging everything.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Best to ignore that commentary. Don't argue or resist, just ignore. Deprived of attention and interest, this voice gets quieter and quieter and eventually just shuts up.
That's pretty modern.
I mean, how about that, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
He's really referring to our practice of denial and affirmation. Don't give it any attention, just say no and let it go. And affirm, fill the void with something positive, and eventually that commentary slows down and I think he said shut up, right? Here's another Plato for you. Now, this is as a root, this is referring to, from my perspective, divine mind, the divine spark of the law of mind action. So Betty, would you read that one for us?
The first and greatest victory is to conquer yourself. To be conquered by yourself is of all things most shameful and vile. Ideas are the source of all things. Did I read that right? The first and greatest victory is to conquer yourself. To be conquered by yourself is of all things most shameful and vile.
That's pretty intense, that statement. But you counselors know what that's about. It's, do I let my ego run my show? Or do I take dominion of my thoughts and words and actions? Is my behavior driven by things and beliefs I'm not even aware of? Am I making my decisions based on prejudice or love? And, you know, shameful and vile is a little harsh, but true in the sense that, I mean, I can recall being driven by beliefs and fears before I found unity. I mean, no matter what I accomplished, I still had some fears and they were unaware driving my behaviors at certain times. So if I'm triggered, boom. And we're not meant, that's not meant to be the case.
I think a lot of times people are brought up thinking that if you think of yourself and delve into yourself, you're being conceited and it's shameful.
Yeah. And I mean, it's paradoxical, isn't it? Because both things are true. When you take care of yourself, you are then equipped to take care of others, right? To be there for others. But if you take care of yourself with a wrong motive or a misunderstanding of the true purpose, then it's not helpful. Is it? Any comments from the folks online? No? Yes, Diane.
Well, I just have, who's this last quote from again?
Plato.
Plato. Of course, we love Plato, but shameful and vile is pretty strong language.
I totally agree. I think he should have used other terms. It's just not.
But he did live just a few years ago. Before Brene Brown, right?
Okay, I'm moving on unless there are any comments. All right. More roots. I just found Plato to be, he was a student of Socrates, so Socrates' influence is in here. But Betty Jo, can you read that one for us?
No, I can't.
Okay, and we can't see it, I'm sorry.
That's the same one.
Same thing.
Oh, is it? I'm so sorry. Oh,
Yeah, transcendental.
okay, let's go to the transcendental. Whoops, whoops. How did you do that? There you go. And I did transcendentalism, the definition here. An idealistic, philosophical, and social movement which developed in New England around 1836 in reaction to rationalism. Influenced by Romanticism, Platonism, and Kantian philosophy, it taught that divinity pervades in all nature and humanity. And its members held progressive views on feminism and communal living. Among them were Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry David Thoreau.
And I think that Forrest was a transcendentalist in a former life,
He must have
because
been.
that was his whole thinking,
Well, tell the people where he lived for a while.
as far as.
He lived in a
teepee.
tent.
He lived in a
teepee.
teepee for 2 years.
Even more primitive than Henry David Thoreau in the forest.
Yeah.
Any comments or questions there? This, no? Okay. So our beginnings. Myrtle had a health crisis. You all know about that, right? She had a health crisis. What I love about her writings and her approach and what she came to understand. And history tells us that she heard it from E.D. Weeks in a lecture, that you do not inherit illness.
Who are we referring to again? Who's she that you're referring to?
Say it again.
Who are we referring to? Before you.
Myrtle Fillmore was the co-founder of Unity.
Oh, okay.
She and her husband co-founded it, mid 1800s.
Oh, okay.
Because they had been on a spiritual search, triggered by actually both of their dissatisfactions with the church of their upbringing. And one of them was Methodist. I'm not sure, my recollection is Charles was a Lutheran. And they were on a search. And then when she got this diagnosis about terminal
Tuberculosis.
tuberculosis, which was terminal back then. It was like the plague, it was like COVID. Only in that it was pretty deadly. And so she and her family members had died of tuberculosis. So when she got it, the thinking was, and I still hear it a lot around. Oh, my parents had it. Oh, my grandparents had it. My sister and I were just having it. I listened, I didn't say anything. Telling me, her heart trouble was because my mom had heart trouble. So E.B. Weeks said you do not inherit illness. Now, everyone has to reconcile their own experience with that, right? But, I mean, we may have proclivities, tendencies. But she heard that and went home and went to work. And started a spiritual practice with her body. Which was to ask for forgiveness for not taking better care of herself. To ask her body to forgive her thoughts, her judgmental thoughts, her biases. And then she began to give thanks for every part of her body very systematically. And speaking words of love to herself and atoms, her organs, her every part of her being. It was daily, hours practice. And she went into remission and never got it again. She lived a long life after that. So that started the heart health process started them in this approach to prayer and healing. And they started having prayer groups in their home. We evolved from that to, some I don't know what the current count is, not too long ago, it was 1,000 churches worldwide. So it might be not as big as the mainline denominational, certainly not as big as Catholic Church, but 1,000 churches worldwide. So I mentioned EB Weeks. We started as a healing ministry, a prayer healing ministry. And actually, I was talking to the people at the archives at Unity Village. Because I got a question from someone who's leading a study group on the 12 powers, who's in my book. And she wanted to know what was the origin of the colors. And so I went back to the archives, on the phone. And the archivist there sent me, a few articles that appeared. The first one was in 1917. 1917, Charles had put together, he was a scientist too. Put together that, there are vibrations, thoughts are vibratory. And, I don't know if you got the idea from looking at a rainbow and the colors of the rainbow, the vibrations. But he began, my recollection after reading all that she sent me is that he started with 4 powers and colors. And then it went to 7, like the 7 chakras. And then it went to 12 because he said, oh, the 12 disciples, obviously. And so the colors evolved from that. And the colors that the vibrational frequencies that are connected with each of the powers today came about again in 1974. 12 colors, 12 powers, 12 vibrations. So that's Charles, and that's how we really went beyond the small prayer groups, healing prayer groups, into larger get-togethers. He was speaking at huge conferences and then started training people. But it began with the 12 powers in prayer. Any comments or questions? Anyone online? Do we need to take a little break? I think I can see your eyes kind of going like. So we're going to take a 2-minute break so you can get up and use the restroom across the way, one of them, or get something to drink, get some sugar. And then just a couple of minutes, just so you can stand and get the energy going. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Is the library open? I can't get the key. I don't have my keys with me.
I can see the basic book.
Joe got you a book.
Did she? Okay, she's
Yeah.
talking to me about getting more.
Yeah, but go look in the library.
Okay, okay, let me get a little water. Yeah, okay, right, I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna be able to come to all 4, by the way. I'm canceling my trip to Discovery Day. So I can.
I think you told me.
I did? I just told you the other day that I want to be able to come to 2 and that'd be okay. And you said,
Yeah. Yeah, isn't that what you just said?
no, I've discovered, I canceled my trip, so I've been able to come to all 4.
You did?
Yeah, I'm just a little scared of flying right now. I just did COVID 6 weeks ago, and a friend of mine, she just got it yesterday, and I was thinking, wow, I'm gonna be on a plane and standing up. So I just canceled everything this morning. So
Probably divinely guided.
yes, I think it was good. So I just wanted something to tell you.
Oh, great.
It's for me too. Me too.
Sharon, I understand somebody wrote on one of the whiteboards, black ink,
Say that again, Betty Jo?
and you want me to say that again? Said that understood, somebody wrote on the whiteboard with black scripto or in one of the rooms. Did that happen?
On the whiteboard?
Yeah, on one of the
This is
whiteboards.
the only place we have whiteboard. Oh, we might in the library, but I think we covered it with one of our book stands.
But I found out that the rubber eraser will take that off.
A rubber eraser?
Yeah, just like on the pencil top. the
Yeah.
Rubber,
Yeah.
they said on Facebook that would remove that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I wonder, did you tell someone else here?
No, I'll tell Sharon, I talked to her quite a bit, Sharon Rodriguez.
Oh, Sharon, I wonder, because there was something written here.
Yeah, I thought,
Remember?
yeah. So I thought you get some of the big rubber erasers, and maybe that. would
Yeah,
take it off.
yeah.
Okay.
You're fabulous for coming. I mean, this is not new to you.
No,
It's good to be on.
but it's good to review.
Yeah.
But what Myrtle was, she was faithful every day to declare the truth, who she was. And she did not give up.
No,
And
it's the hard.
yeah, that's what we have to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was fortunate to have a husband who was very supportive
Yeah.
and a mother who took care of the kids. And while she did the spiritual woman. I hate this sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, we have to work at it all the time, but we don't. And good worry sometimes creeps in there.
Yeah, because we're human beings.
And my grandson is gonna be operated on tomorrow. They moved the date up. And then they're going to go to tumor and repair his eardrum.
And how do you repair an eardrum? Isn't that amazing? I know. Wow, it isn't a show. Yeah, that's so amazing. How old is he?
He's 44.
I didn't meet him, did I?
No,
Okay, where is he?
he lives in Southern California.
Okay.
And he works for a team over there. They work with Bibles and baseball. And if I can't remember, that's AC or something like that, the big word is Christian.
Oh.
And he does a lot with the kids. He wanted to be a professional baseball player, didn't quite work out for him.
He lives in him though, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway.
What a neat kid. Do you have a picture on your phone?
No, I don't. But he's a neat kid.
Oh, he must.
Yeah.
Must be. And
He's-
where's his mom?
His mother is one who's the interior designer, decorator. She lives
Where
in-
is she?
What?
Where is she?
She's an interior decorator.
But where? Here?
Oh, no, in Southern California. Tustin.
Tustin?
Tustin.
You know, you did tell me that, and I'm looking to find an interior decorator to live in our sanctuary. Because I've had probably 3 or 4 people, including Billy, say to me, because I asked, as soon as I put it out there, these people are confirming, it's dark up there. It's dark. It is, isn't it? It needs to be lightened up. Yes, it does. And so I thought, I don't want to rush into this. I would like an interior decorator's opinion. We talked about, Gary Burke, right? Gary? Oh, I'll have to introduce you. He's here. He's a design engineer. He used to do windows. And he's the one who worked with Susie Fisher to create. Do you remember what we did for Easter? We had that really up there. And
Yes.
he made that. So he's very good, and I asked him to look, and he had the idea of panels that are colored, painted. And so we talked about that. His way of doing it would be his rival, which is that big construction.
Yeah. But they're doing a lot now with whitewash. My son is a Christian Science, and he goes to different churches in southern San Diego area.
Yeah.
And I visited with them, and I went to one museum, and it's because they don't like it, and all very much. It's very strange. I used to be she speaks to one church, and they were dark. They're very good speakers for their South. But they were very dark wall, and they made it like they wanted light in them.
Yeah.
So now he's whitewashing it. I think she went over to the wall.
There's we need to have some big.
Is it called?
Painting and.
No, it's like for tree, a crest for tree.
Yeah.
It's going now, but you can't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jill lent me a book called Power. And I'm reading it. And then I listened to you two.
Yeah.
Mine, he is.
Yeah.
Get that water bit.
And
I want the water.
I know, but I get that.
Oh, I know this is. Right. I've gone there, and studied with them, you know, I was just thinking that way.
Okay, are we ready?
Yeah, yeah. No, thank you.
Okay. Go back, go back.
You know, I don't need to change seats, but.
You believe?
Well, I just can't be. I'm better off when I'm facing rather than twisting.
Oh, yeah, good heart on the neck.
Okay. Have those fun changes in the gas, so. At least it doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah, this week is taste, remember, mesmerizing. I've been listening to a lot.
Oh,
Since
good.
well, Joe lent me the one book.
Uh-huh.
Remember, I can't believe that butterword.
Okay, I'm gonna share a poem with you by David White. David White. It's called Everything is Waiting for You.
Everything's waiting for you.
Everything is waiting for you.
Hmm.
Your great mistake is to act the drama as if you were alone. As if life were a progressive and cunning crime with no witness to the tiny hidden transgressions. To feel abandoned is to deny the intimacy of your surroundings. Surely even you at times have felt the grand erase talking to himself. The swelling presence and the chorus crowding out your solo voice. You must note the way the soap dish enables you, or the window latch grants you freedom. Alertness is the hidden discipline of familiarity. The stairs are your mentor of things to come. And the doors have always been there to frighten you and invite you. And the tiny speaker in the phone is your dream ladder to divinity. Put down the weight of your aloneness and ease into the conversation. The kettle is singing, even as it pours you a drink. The cooking pots have left their arrogant aloofness and seen the good new at last. All the birds and creatures of the world are unutterably themselves, and everything is waiting for you. Waiting for our attention and our full presence. Okay, back to a little history and roots and Emily Cady, who wrote Lessons in Truth. It is, have any of you read Lessons in Truth?
Yes.
No, you did, Darlene? You did, Betty Jo. Of course you did, then, years ago. We have it in the library, I'm quite sure.
Yes.
We don't have it there, it's in the bookstore. It's a compilation of all of our teachings and tools. Very well organized. And she was a early Unity person. I don't know what those years are in there. That was a mistake on my part. I'm sorry.
But it's actually one.
Yeah, I'm sure. 88. I'd have to go back.
We did that, the writing that we are.
Pardon?
Both places are written that way. Well, no, that's right.
The bottom would have been.
Yeah, it's
1848. She might.
Yeah, yes. That's what it is.
1848. Right. At any rate, Lessons in Truth is very rigorous. It's because it's just one practice or spiritual truth after another, page after page. But it's worth a look and reference. What would you say about it, Betty Jo?
It's very inspiring. It's meat.
Is what?
It's very good inspiring. It's like the meat and potatoes of
Yeah.
spirituality.
It's all meat, isn't it? No gristle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so these two expanded the ideas of the Fillmores early on. Lowell, one of the sons, was one of the writers for Unity magazine and a very progressive thinker. who inspired a lot of what we do today, so, and I'm sure he influenced Emily and Katie. Okay, Myrtle's key realization. Anyone want to read this one? Eileen, how about you? Can you see it okay? Go for it.
I remember with great joy the time when it dawned on me that God was my father and that I need not be bound by human limitations. I had been laboring under the belief in inherited ill health, and the truth of my divine parentage freed and healed me. It flashed upon me that I might talk to the life in every part of my body. I began to teach my body and got marvelous results.
Great idea, huh? Any comments or questions here?
Amen.
Amen.
I had breast cancer many years ago, and after I moved out here and Bob died and I was alone, I had a questionable mammogram. And I thought, how am I gonna manage? I was in a new house and everything. And so I spoke to my body and I said, "Now, you have the ability, if I cut my finger, you have the ability to make that heal." And I just kept concentrating on that for the 12 days that I had to wait till my next appointment. And so when I got there, it's a long story shorter, they did a whole bunch of mammograms, and they wanted ultrasound and had me go in another room. And then the radiologist himself came in to do the ultrasound. And he didn't say a word, and he's working, and I'm laying there, my positivity being challenged. And I said to him, "Do you believe in spontaneous remissions?" And he said, "I don't care what you call it, but you can put your clothes on and go home, because I can't find anything." So now, of course, there could be scientific reasons or some, whatever. I said, "I don't care how it's got here, but it's gone."
Yeah. So Pat, who else? Oh, Diane, you had your hand up.
Yeah, a quick comment and then a question. It's interesting that I didn't know that Myrtle had tuberculosis, because just the other day, there's a great documentary on PBS that I watched about tuberculosis and how sanatoriums got started. And I had no idea at the turn of the century, 1 out of 7 people were dying from tuberculosis. So it's quite interesting if anybody sees it, because it talks about how these people were put in sanatoriums in bed 24 hours a day because they didn't have anything else until they developed the penicillin. And so the thought that the fact that she used that time so successfully instead of just laying in bed like a lot of other people did, it's pretty powerful. Really speaks to her character. And then my question is, I've been involved in integral transformative process, which is out of California, out of Esalen. And they do a lot of induction where you're healing with your hands in as thoughts are. Is that also coming out of this movement, this health movement of the Phil Morris and Katie and everybody, or where is that? Did they start that?
It was founded, because I went through the program too way back when, in San Francisco. It was founded by Michael Murphy, one of the founders of Esalen, and
Right.
George Leonard.
Leonard, yep.
Who was a master, a black belt, or whatever. There's one above that, I think, and that's what he was. And he started a dojo in Mill Valley, California. And the two of them, George wrote a great book that I just love, a small tome called Mastery. I just love it. But it was about the same kind of discipline that Myrtle Fillmore took on, which is a daily practice. And so the ITP, when I was going through it, was a combination of meditation. We would gather in the dojo and meditate for 20 minutes saying 3 affirmations to ourselves. And we were asked at the very beginning, create 3 affirmations, powerful affirmations that speak to how you want to be or what you want to draw into your life. And during the meditation, we would say those affirmations to ourselves. And then I think what we did first was a combination of Tai Chi, and
Yes,
other
it's Tai Chi, yeah. Mhm.
martial arts that George created. It was a routine, there were basic moves that we did every week. And then the meditation with the affirmations, and then we got in small groups and talked about the experience.
Right, right. Sharon, I'm gonna look because I still do the tapes sometimes where people have the old, what do you call it? Leotards on. I'm gonna look and see if you're in those tapes. You probably are. They're from like 1970 or 80 or whatever, but I love ITP. It really speaks to me.
Yes. Yeah, it's an integral practice.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well,
Who is the author of Mastery?
George Leonard. Great little book, but he
was a beautiful man. I love George Leonard.
was a beautiful man. Yeah. I was sad. I just found out a few months back. I started doing research on George when I got his book, Mastery. He also, with Michael Murphy, wrote a huge tome called, what was it called? It's sitting in my bookshelf. Something about.
Chop wood, carry water.
Huh?
Chop
No.
wood, chop wood, carry water.
The title has the word body in it.
Okay.
I'll find, if I had my phone, I'd look it up. Why don't you look, does anyone have their phone with them?
I have my phone, but I don't know how to look.
Okay,
Those
do it.
things up yet.
I can look it up.
I just got a cell phone, so.
I can look it up.
Look it up. I mean, it's co-written by Michael Murphy and George Leonard. I'm sure Amazon has it. I can't remember the full name. But it's got their practice in there.
See, I have absolute belief, understanding, truth that I can affect all parts of my mind, body, soul, and heal and change and whatever. And then there's the word God.
And then there's what?
The word God
Yeah.
and the word, Buddha and the word Jesus. And I'm just saying, I know there's not a gap, and I'm trying to learn something here, and I'm just at the start, so I'm just saying that.
Well, those are good questions.
Yeah.
And stay with it. It's what I've discovered for myself is that it's a reconciliation process. So to take the beliefs that I was raised with and look at some of those terms, like resurrection.
Yeah.
And possibility, what is possible really based on what I'm hearing now and understand. So stay with it. Look at
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, they're just words to describe an experience.
It's like I know, but I just have.
Buddha
But it's
describes, well, Buddha describes enlightenment,
Yeah. Right.
and he was an icon of it, right?
Right.
And Christ describes God consciousness, a fully realized human being. So, there are terms to describe an experience or reality, true reality. Okay, on we go. Ready?
Sharon, is
Yes.
it the future of the body?
Future of the body. That's it.
Future of the body.
That's it. The future of the body. It's their philosophy and their psycho-spirituality, and then it's got the practices in it. Thank you, Eileen.
You're welcome.
Okay. I gotta tell you, when I was in San Francisco, I had so many great opportunities to expand my consciousness, to expand my understanding. You know, I used to go to the Ram Dass Center and do Kundalini yoga there, and then there's the California Institute of Psychology, I think, who had some of the great minds of the time back in the 90s teaching there. Juice fast, ecstatic dancing. Have any of you heard of Gabriel Roth?
Real Roth, yes, I know her well.
So I've danced with Gabriel Roth.
You did? Oh, I love her.
Yeah, yeah. And her son took over her work. And then there was a trainee of hers when she wasn't coming to California and doing anything, who would do ecstatic dancing up in, it's beyond Mill Valley, somewhere up there. Anyway,
Yes.
you know, when you're on a search, you're on a search.
That's right.
Leave no stone unturned. Okay, this is Charles Fillmore, but as you can see, what I've settled on, right? I settled on, for me, a combination of all of them. Okay, who will read this? Doug, thank you.
Man is mind, and he is capable of comprehending the plan and the detailed ideas of the one mind. Christian healing.
Yeah. Any comments or questions there? He can say this because he experienced it. Okay, the unity movement beginning. So I just thought, you know, for your edification, some dates here. In the 1880s, from prayer meetings in their living room to magazines, books, they had a radio station. You know, Silent Unity has a building on the campus. We have a tower. Have you seen pictures of the tower? If you've been there, on one of the floors, they had their radio station now. 1914 incorporated as a nonprofit. After there was a lot of legal haggling about that because the government did not want to allow it to be a nonprofit. 1920, the notorious prosperity banks. Did any of you ever have a prosperity bank? No, it was, as you see, 1920s, right? So we're heading into the Depression now. And the prosperity banks were like this. I had one, I got one when I first came to Unity. And the whole idea was to put all your spare change in there. And then after, you know, a set amount of time, and meanwhile, you're affirming prosperity, right? I'm the rich child of an abundant universe. Discipline, discipline, discipline. And then at the end, you open the prosperity bank and you experience this rush of, oh my God, look at all the money I have. Who would have thought? And then Son Rickard was an architect who designed Unity Village, Italian Renaissance. Really, really a great campus. Where is that? Kansas City. It's called Unity Village. It's its own village. We have our mayor and our water supply there.
Huh?
Yeah. So Unity today, I thought I'd just tell you here, in case you did not know, that campus is 1,400 acres. It's got 2 lakes on it with fish because his son Charles liked to fish. Walking paths, a cafe, a bookstore. It's an award-winning hotel and retreat center. They have changed. There were some really very, very interesting buildings on campus where the teachers, the faculty could come and live, and Charles and Myrtle had a home on the campus. And they had what they called, when I started, they had a big building that was the men's hotel. The ministerial students could live there. And then they had a women's hotel and the women's students could live there. And they had a couple of buildings for faculty. Today, they are step by step, building by building, turning those buildings that are no longer lived in into Airbnbs. So one sleeps 12 and one sleeps 14.
Wow.
Yeah. They're really cool. Lovely. They did a great job, modernized them. Then we have the Silent Community Building, Fur Chapel, admin building, classrooms. The activity center was always, it had two names. It was where the church was, Unity Village Chapel. Why they called it chapel, I don't know, because it seats 1,100 people. Yeah, when I was there on the campus as a minister there, I mean, it was such a joy because I had the graphics department, I had all the tech people at my disposal for the church. So, oh my God, my tech team could do amazing things. Anyway, it's quite a beautiful structure, the activity center. They want to turn it into, it's just gorgeous. It has a huge big picture. It seats 1,100 people. It's got these, it's, I don't know, 25 feet, 2 stories high at least. And they've got ceiling to floor windows on both sides of the room and a balcony that seats, I think the balcony seats, it's either 150 or 200. They want to turn it into a conference center. So the church has moved out of there today. They're in the Silent Community Chapel. Okay. Any questions or comments? No. We have a rose garden, an extraordinary rose garden, fountains, we have a labyrinth walk. Like whaling paths, no, not whaling paths, walking paths repeated here. So it's fountains and
Whaling fest.
and
We should have those.
I was looking at that one. It was operator error.
Yeah. Well, we have, fountains 2 times over.
Yes, I know. I must have laid them on. And they have, they have little gardens where you can go and meditate. And they have a place on the campus where you can have outdoor weddings instead of platform.
Quick comment, the Rose Garden, they were remodelizing or whatever they were doing, they were asking for donations and you could select a rose to be donated. And I have one of my mother's name there. And when I went there, it's all rose garden all over the place. And I wish I could have known which one was hers. So I went into the library, I guess it was, and they had a thing there with the names and the places and the computer, and they could show me exactly. It was neat. Yeah. It was a beautiful place to visit. I don't know what I was staying in, it was pretty bare bones, you know, a bed and a table and a lamp, and that was your room.
That was the motel.
Yeah.
They have a retreat center now that was completed in the 2000 something like 2003, 2004. And it's really wonderful.
But the fountains and the gardens are beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure what they're doing. They talked about modernizing away from the conference or the retreat center. Where you were, there were 2 rows of rooms, and then they had buildings that had 4 bedrooms. Cottages, they call those. One was a motel and there were cottages. And that's where, you know, it was a big educational experience going on there that not so much anymore. They have retreats. Not in the winter because of the snow, but they have retreats from like, I don't know, March through October, November. And but they used to do education there, what is currently SEE. And that's where I started to become a licensed teacher. But anyway, hundreds of people, a couple hundred would come at a time. They had 3 quarters through the year when they had this education, fall, spring, and summer. And we stayed in the motels and They had a restaurant there, you know, you could have your meals right now. The restaurant it caters to events because they don't have the education going on that they used to. I hope they return to that. So much is online today.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna close right here because you've had enough. I can see it in your eyes. And next week, you know, we're meeting all September, right? Yes. Okay. And, so we'll start the 5 laws. I'll cover the 5 laws, of course, and the, tangent practices, at least around that. And then the distinctions, how is unity different than other mainline spiritual path? And some of our frameworks, this is what makes it so practical. We have frameworks for understanding the spirituality. For example, functions of consciousness. So it's a beautiful integration for me of psychology, science, and spirituality. And the functions of consciousness, you would, as a psychologist, you would have studied them. Intuition, sensing, thinking, and feeling, 4 functions of our consciousness. So we'll talk about that, but not right now. We're gonna pause for a moment, close your eyes, and just think about it for a minute. What has touched you today, or what sparked your interest? What was most helpful? This will just anchor that, whatever was perhaps most helpful, meaningful. Even if it's a, you know, a remembrance, a reminder. And just anchor it in your heart, let it live there, in your heart. To bless you when you leave. And so God, we just give thanks for this time together and know that it has been fruitful and continues to be fruitful as we continue to unfold our spiritual potential and our spiritual understanding. And so we give thanks and go into the rest of our day with a sense of enthusiasm, excitement, and expectancy. Thank you, God. And we all say, Amen. Thank you all. I hope I'll see you next Wednesday, same time, same station. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.